So hey everybody, Scott Jansen here. Welcome back to another student interview. Today we have the awesome Emily Rose joining us today. I'm very, very excited about this interview. Emily's got a really cool story and what I think is an absolute remarkable business. So what we're going to be doing today is I want to take a deep dive into Emily's business. I'm going to ask her, the type of niche she's working with, her goals with her business. And for those who aren't aware, Emily is part of our 100K coaching program, and she's absolutely crushing it. So I'm going to be asking her about that and finding out all the details about what Emily's goals are with her business moving forward. So Emily, thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome. It's lovely to be here.
Excellent. So look, let's start from the start. Let's go all the way back. You're an entrepreneur. You're a female business owner. What got you involved in business? Were you working at a job before and jumped into business? How did it all come around for you? I remember as young as 5 being like, I'm going to own my business when I'm older. It was always a thing for me. And my dad's always been an entrepreneur, so that had inspired me. And then when I got into my 20s, I launched as a makeup artist in advertising, and that was my first foot in the door as an entrepreneur. I'd just always been a person that loved working for myself. And then from there, I published a couple of books, and I worked in advertising as a makeup artist for over 10 years. And then I just always had this calling to want to help people more. And that's when I started to transition into coaching. Mm-hmm. Okay. So when you transitioned, what was your goal with coaching? Like, who were you trying to help? What were you trying to do?
Initially, I actually studied life coaching, NLP, hypnosis, as more of a self-development journey with the hope to help others with that. And at the time, I actually was focusing in on anxiety because it's something that I'd really struggled a lot with in my life. But I always had business tapping me on the shoulder. And to be honest, the only thing that really held me back from that was my own self-belief and thinking, I hadn't been and studied a degree in business. Was I good enough to, go and teach other people? And when I finally was able to push through those fears, they say like success is 1 second past your fear. Then, I really took it by the horns, and it was the best decision I ever made to transition into business.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what was your biggest takeaways from becoming like a therapist?
My biggest takeaways would have been, I just think I never realized how much helping other people succeed in their business could light me up. Like it feels like their business becomes my business, and seeing them succeed almost overtakes my own feelings when my own business is succeeding. And it's not just seeing them make money, it's seeing the ripple effect it has on their families, on their children, just every area of their life. I know it's had that effect on my life as well, and especially for my children.
Awesome. So when you became a therapist, like you said, you wanted to focus on yourself and maybe some anxiety. Did you actually see any face-to-face clients, or did you get straight into helping people with their business? How did that all come about?
No, I started off with the life coaching side. Mm-hmm. It wasn't very long, to be honest. I think within the first 3 months, I transitioned into business because I started noticing a pattern that actually it was entrepreneurs that were coming to me.
Yeah.
So initially, I went in with quite an open mind and just thought I'll start off with coaching in general and see like what's the common pattern. Like I'm always looking for patterns in my business. So that's kind of what then pushed me that direction. And I think looking back, even over the years where I'd run a business, I'd always had people coming and asking me questions anyway.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how long ago was this when this all started?
So I've been a business owner for 12 years now. So yeah.
Long time.
Time.
So when you moved into helping entrepreneurs with business and you talked about the patterns, what were you noticing? What was their problems that you saw that you knew you could solve?
I think the main thing was similar to, I always like to reflect in on, what did I struggle in when I first started business? And for me, they don't have the same problems. It's always slightly different, but it's a similar pattern in that, they find startup overwhelming. Who do they listen to? Where do they go for the advice? What advice do they follow? What new marketing trends are they going to be following today? And I find that, that's the biggest thing. They come and they're like doing 1,000,001 things. There's no focused action. And so they're not able to gain, a big result from that.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned startup. What do you mean by startup businesses?
I have to say, like, all sorts of different startups fascinate me. My dad is an artist and he creates products and he's an inventor. And then, you know, I'm very service-based. Like, I've always loved working in service-based business. So I think there is a mixture for me, but I definitely think I probably attract more often service-based businesses just because of my experience. But I do like it when product-based businesses come along as well.
Yeah. So when you first made that transition into helping people with the business, especially startups, how did you go about getting clients, and what were you offering? Like, what was the solution that people were paying you for?
I think initially, sorry, can you repeat that question?
Yeah. So when you started with the startups, and you started to attract clients, what were you offering them? Like, obviously we know as coaches and therapists that clients pay us for like an end result, some sort of service. What was that for you? Was it like a money-based thing? Was it your business will be here, or you'll feel this by coming to see me? What was it exactly?
I think it was that I would teach them the business model that I use to, you know, gain consistent clients, to make an income. I've never promised a specific income because, you know, I think that it very much comes down to obviously how much action they're taking and things, but I've always I can teach them what I've learned. So basically, you know, I want to demystify it for them. So, you know, all the things that I struggled with when I started out that I didn't know and I had to Google, and well, I don't even know that there was there internet then? I don't know, but
probably not. Yeah. I remember those days.
And, you know, one of the other things was that I built my previous business on email outreach because back then, like, social media wasn't a huge thing. And that's one of the things that massively resonated with what you do. And I was like, hang on a second. If I built my other business on email outreach, could this work on social media? And that's then what I was able to come into your program and apply to what I was teaching other people.
Yeah, I remember those days, email marketing. If you can make it email marketing and build a business, shit, you can make it anyway, because that is the toughest thing to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember those days as well. So moving forward, you've got a couple of clients coming in. What was happening in business right now? What was your goals with this business when it first started up?
The specific coaching business?
Yeah.
What were my goals when I first started? I guess my dream was always just to become an expert in that field. That was my initial dream, was to become an expert in that field, and I guess create an audience that resonated with my beliefs around business. I've never expected to take on the world, but I have always known that whatever you believe, there are people out there that align with that.
Beautiful. So moving forward in business, like I said, you've been in business for 12 years. What were you doing? Like, what does a day-to-day look like for you back then? Like, what were you doing? How were you getting clients? Run me through all those bits.
Well, I actually moved from London to Australia 5 years ago. So that was huge for me because it was like, oh my gosh, I'm starting again. And, you know, I did get an opportunity with an agency over here where I was able to continue my makeup work. And then I just literally flicked through the production book. I searched the internet. I wrote down every single name of every single production company I could find. And I reached out to them. I just sent them an email. I networked with people when I was on set. And then as I started to get some jobs, referrals started to come in. So I would say predominantly the way that I gained clients was through outreach and referral. And that's still what I implement now in my business. I've never been a fan of ads, and I've tried it before in my business, and I just felt like there had to be an easier way.
Definitely is, and a lot cheaper way too.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So moving forward, so you have been only in my program for a while now. So let's work on that. When you're working on your business, things are going good by the sound of it. You're building it up to a certain level. Before you even thought about jumping into my program, what was business like for you? Like, what was there a certain money you were earning per month? Was there a certain clientele? What was happening?
Yeah. So I would say that when I first started the program, I was hitting consistently at least the 5K mark, but I really wanted to push myself at that point. And, you know, as I've said, I've always like had a fascination with how can I make my systems leaner. You know, I was introduced to the lean process, for anyone that understands that, like at a really young age, and or probably about 18. And it always fascinated me. And I was looking for someone that could come in with kind of an external view so I could see my own blind spots. And I was like, so that I could work out, okay, where can I lean down further? You know, where can I make my own systems and processes simpler? And that's when I stumbled across your program. And I actually watched you for about 2 months, I think, before, maybe even 3 before I signed up. And you just, every single video that you uploaded, I was like, you speak my language. So I knew that investing in your program was going to be amazing. And I'd invested in a lot of other programs before to not much result. And I think because so many people are focused in on mindset and not enough systems. And whilst I think like mindset is a crucial element, I believe that systems are what make you money. So
yeah, mindset is just a system as well.
Yeah.
So what issues were you finding? Like hitting $5,000 a month, that's good for especially a business owner. What issues were you coming up against? Was it client attraction, pricing, the niche? How did you know you needed to take the next step into investing in a program?
Because I wanted to hit 10K a month. And I wanted to, yeah. And you know, what happened for me was, I think in the first 2 weeks of being in the program, my clients doubled. And I knew that whilst I knew my organic marketing was good to an extent, I knew it could be better. And I knew that maybe I was missing something in terms of where I could find my clients. So, and that's what I definitely gained from the program. I loved that system of, finding people, the way that you find people basically. And, just having that confidence to then believe that it was okay for me to sell in my way, and do more outreach.
Yeah. So you said you invested in other programs. So what was the issue with those programs? Just, was it there was no systems? It was just all the mindset? What was different?
One of the things that really sets you apart, in my opinion, is the level of support. I think that many programs don't have the level of support that you give, and how active you are in the group, and answering questions. And I think that what I found was that you give everything. Like, you're so authentic, and there's no stone unturned.
Yeah.
With other programs, I felt like there was always maybe a little bit being held back. Like, I'll share some of my system, but I won't share all of it.
Yeah, I hate that.
Me too.
That's the reason, and this is something that you'll take on board because you're moving into, programs and group coaching. Is the worst thing we can do as coaches and therapists is to create gaps inside somebody's understanding. And I think a lot of people who make programs do that because they just want to upsell. They have their initial program. They say, well, if you want to learn steps 6 and 7, now you've got to pay the 10, 20, 30, 50. I hate that. Yeah. So yeah, you're 100% right. And this is what you'll do for your clients as well, is you just give them everything. You give them more stuff than they need, and then you allow them to narrow it down, because anytime your students or your clients have to go somewhere else and buy another program to get that gap, that missing piece you didn't give them, you've already failed them. You want to create a program where that's all they need is this to reach that level of success.
And too many programs, like, I invested in people who had a gazillion programs. I'd invest in one, and then I'd be like, oh, okay, it wasn't quite what I was looking for, so I'll have to invest in this one. And then I'd go into the next one, and they might have duplicated some of the content from that one over to that one. And then I'm like, okay, so what am I paying for? Yeah. And I just love how simple you keep it. And I, just that thing of going, okay, from this program, and then you can transition into, that higher level when you're scaling was perfect.
Yeah. So you've jumped into the program. So firstly, how did you find out about the program? So you're watching the videos and you heard me talk about the 100K program. How did you find out about it?
I found you on Facebook. I can't remember how I stumbled across the page, but I did. And then I went into the group that you had at the time, and I saw the cover photo. When I first look at anyone's page, my eye is instantly drawn to that top part before you even scroll. I'm always trying to drill into my clients' heads as well.
Yeah.
And so I saw your Therapy MAXIMISER, the book, I think it was.
Yep.
And then I saw the 100K coach.
Okay. So you're in the program now, and obviously week 1 is all systems. I think one of the videos is called It's All Systems. What did you take away from week 1? From
week 1, for me, it was just looking at where was I slightly overcomplicating my systems. And I was able to go away that week and go, right, okay, get rid of that, tweak that, simplify that. That was probably the main thing from week 1.
Okay. What were the systems you were using at the time? Do you remember?
So I was already using some outreach, but there was not as much of a systematic kind of moving through how I was finding the client. And then, because now I even input them into a database, and then I know when I come back to it, okay, this was their problem. There was things like that were missing in my system at the time that I was able to input.
Okay. So moving through the program, clients doubled. Obviously that doubles your income as well.
Yeah.
When clients started to come and see you, obviously you narrowed down the niche, you understood the systems, you're getting your head around what your business really is and clarifying and defining everything. What were the problems that your clients were coming to see you for?
So I think the main ones would be overwhelm in startup. The second one would be clients. And clients and money, and just trouble around marketing. They wanted to understand how to not have to use ads, how to actually grow without having to break the bank.
Beautiful. Yeah. So now you're working with your clients, and obviously we've talked back and forward, and I think the last thing you told me was you've got so many enrollments coming in, it's sort of hard to stay on top of it. That's a good problem to have, which is cool. Yeah. What's happening right now in the business? Because let's say you've been in the program for maybe 2 months, 3 months, maybe. I think you joined just before Christmas time. How's the business looking now? What's been happening with it?
That's amazing. So I followed your advice and I launched a group program, but I realized it's it's become an online program in itself because of the way that I, screen recorded and put everything together. So initially my thought process was group program, and I suppose it's a bit of a hybrid right now. But so my aim for this year now is to focus on that online program and really growing that, growing the enrollments in that, and also to automate.
That's the big thing. And you said a good word there, hybrid. I mean, we talk about this in our Therapy MAXIMISER, the model that, you see me run with the 100K coaching program, the Facebook group, the constant support, and the lifetime access to the group coaching. That is the hybrid model. So what's funny is you're already starting to do that instinctually because that's the way it has to work. That's how we automate things. And the cool thing about automating is you don't have to worry about paperwork, enrollments, all of that sort of stuff, which is admin time, which is, part of our business. We set it up to the point where someone can find you on Facebook, go from Facebook to like a webinar or something like that we show you guys how to do. They watch the webinar, they get blown away by the awesome content. They can see how you differentiate from all the other people doing what you do out there. They press, I want to enroll. The money goes into your PayPal account, bang, they're straight into the program. And you wake up in the morning, have your first coffee for the morning, and you've got people already enrolled into your program.
Yeah.
When you joined my program, the same thing. I didn't know who you are. I look through all the enrollments each day, and I go look for you guys on Facebook and, add you as friends, add you to the group. And until we talk, I don't know who you are, but that's how a lean system works, especially when scaling. It's awesome. I mean, I get it. Coaches and therapists, they want to get to know their clients. They want to have that friendly, intimate relationship, and that's cool, but you do not have time to do that with everybody. If you're enrolling hundreds of people a month, you don't have time to meet and greet everybody. So having that hybrid model where you can talk to them in the Facebook group, that covers that. And a lot of the questions you ask and answer and stuff, the rest of the other people in the group of that hybrid model get the impact of those questions as well. So it's instinctually you're already going there, which is awesome. It just shows you that's just the natural evolution that'll happen.
I think for me, because of the level of support I want to be able to give. And I would say actually it's a strong quality, but it also probably hinders me a little bit as well, because I want to give everybody a huge level of support that I felt I didn't get in business startups. So I'd say that's probably the bit that I now need to work on, is how can I still deliver that level of support, have them feel like they've still got that level of support without me kind of, exhausting myself.
Yeah.
And I think you do that really well. I almost felt like I just did have my side-by-side mentor, I think you get that balance really, really well.
Yeah. And again, that's the way you develop your program. You develop it in such a way where it almost seems like you're coaching your clients one-on-one, but you're sort of not at the same time, because the program is so transparent. And what you said there was perfect. This is a big issue I came over as well, was like how, I'm charging $997 for the program, which is not a lot of money for, the results our students get. How can I make them feel so warm and welcome and cozy in my group and feel like I'm there with it every step? You can't do that. And I had that problem as well. And it's just something you overcome if you want to scale, if you want to grow your business. Because if you're stuck in, I want to meet all my clients, I want to become friendly with them and all this stuff, you'll spend your whole day doing that and doing nothing else, and your business will crumble. I know a lot of therapists and coaches, I see them post online and they'll say, I hate mentors, that don't want to meet their students. I love helping my students. I love being there for them and hug them and kiss them and do all that stuff, high five them. That's a strong part of my personality. And look, it is a good part of your personality. But as far as timing in business, there are more efficient ways to do that. And that's why we have the group model. That's why we have the online program, plus the group coaching. And like you said, it's like I'm there with you, but we only started talking about 2 months after you joined the program. And it was like we were talking on that professional level already. It wasn't like, hi, I've just joined your program, nice to meet you stuff. It was just straight in. And again, that comes from how you treat the students in the program and obviously the group and stuff as well.
But also because I actually think there's something more powerful when people post questions directly into the group, because they're helping everybody then, rather than you sending out a million different messages. But that said, when I did really need support on something specific that I didn't want to post into the group, you were open to chatting with me privately, which was great. And then you've also got the group coaching calls that you do, and so that again gives people that opportunity to have that support. And I actually find that in some ways group coaching calls are more powerful again, because you learn from each other, and sometimes other people's questions answer your problem.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's what you sort of have to teach your clients and students to do that in the group. This is why we use the group, because trust me, students and clients will still want that one-on-one touch. They want that interaction with you unless you teach them otherwise. And like you said, it really does help everybody in the group. If someone just posts a question in the group, everyone can see it. But at the same time, you've got to juggle the act of, okay, I've got great students who are asking great questions, but if someone wants to talk to me privately, is it a good thing in my business or is it a hindrance? Well, it's obviously a good thing, because if that gives you more success, that shines a light on my business as well. But again, it's a juggling act. You've got to sort out, is this a really important question, or is this a student or a client just being needy? And you sort of have to, if they're just being needy, you sort of have to push them back into the group and say, look, ask here. But yeah, you and me have had some great conversation. I agree with you. They probably weren't the best for the group, only for the fact is you're so far ahead. You're so far ahead of everybody else, and you understand business. If you would have posted those questions, people would have been like, what the hell is this? What's she talking about? That's because your level's above, because you've been there. And you'll find this in your group as well. With all the new startups, they're going to ask the most basic questions, but that's what they're supposed to do. And these questions are so unconscious to you, the answer, because you've been there, done it, and you'll answer it. It won't seem like much to you, but for them, it'll be next level. And everybody in the group will look at it and go, wow, this Emily girl, she knows her stuff. This is why I paid all that great money. This is the expertise I was looking for. And there's not a lot of other mentors. And I can see you doing this with your students. There's a lot of other mentors that don't do that. They enroll you into the program, and that's it. That's all you hear from them. Don't email me, don't talk to me. It's a silly way to do it.
I'd ever had.
Yeah. It's like you have to support the students in there, because they're a reflection of how good you are.
And ultimately, it's kind of what then gave me that push to go, I want to do your next program, because I've gone, if this guy can juggle this massive business that he's got and give his students this level of support, that's the kind of automation that I want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm very like, I will only teach people what I have absolutely succeeded in. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is why I specifically focus on startup, because that I can do. And, in the future, I'd love to be able to help people to scale and automate and do all of that stuff. And I'd hope to do that when I've nailed it. So that was definitely a push for your next program.
Yeah. And like, that's why we teach it, because I know what your clients are going to ask you. I've never met a business owner who is, keen on business, someone who wants to grow like yourself, who has ever said to me, Scott, I'm happy with this amount of money. This is good enough. It never happens. So, we get inquiries coming to Therapy Maximizer. We had 2 last night of businesses already hitting 100 grand a month, but they want to automate. Now that seems scary to a new startup, especially with the type of people you're working with, if you don't know what to do, because now you're like, shit, this person's earning the same amount as me. What am I going to teach them? But if you can automate, they still have a problem. They still have something you can solve. And this alone takes you to the next level, because now people join your novice program to learn how to build their business from startup. And now you introduce this thing and say, hey, if your business is going good, everything's working well, why don't I show you how to automate so you can earn in one day what you'd normally earn in a week, or earn in a month what you'd normally earn in a year, without having to do all the button pushing. So that's an evolution. That's why you have to learn this stuff for your business, not even just for your business, but your clients are going to ask you that as well. And then what are you going to say? Well, I don't know. Because if you do that, I'll steal them. I'll put them in my program. I'd rather they go into your program because they're used to you. Do you see how that works?
Yeah. And I think that's like getting to that point where you want to scale, like it's addictive as well. I find that, get to a certain money level and you go, for me, it's not as much like a materialistic thing. It's just like the goal of it and how much I can, in my view of money is like, not only does it give me an amazing lifestyle, but it gives me the opportunity to help so many more people. And inspire my kids as well, that they can go out and do the same thing. Yeah.
It's one of those things, like you become a reflection. Well, you set the ceiling. This is always interesting. You set the ceiling of the level of success of your students based on your business.
Yeah.
So if your business can only reach 10 grand a month the way it is now, you've unconsciously set that ceiling, because your clients will become a reflection of you. It's quite funny. Like, I've seen this in my own business. Sometimes if I might get a little bit lazy, I notice my students for some reason start getting lazy as well. When I start putting my foot down in my business and taking off, it's like all you guys, for some unconscious reason, take off as well. And I wake up to, dozens of testimonials from you guys crushing it. So you'll become a reflection. You set that ceiling for your students. And if they're happy with that, that's fine. But I can guarantee with your sort of niche and what I know about startups, there's going to be people who are looking for this automation, this scaling thing, who maybe don't want to work with me, want a female entrepreneur, but there's nowhere else to go. So you now have to become that catalyst, that person, that face of that. And when you can push the ceiling in your business so high, you inspire the people even earning $1,000 a month to go, wow, she's doing 50 grand a month. And like, while she's sleeping, she's making it. What's this about? Maybe I could utilize this, but right now they don't know this. So as you evolve, you'll start to attract, it's quite weird, you start to attract all these different businesses and startups you never thought you'd work with, because they were just waiting for someone like you. They're waiting to hear these things in automation. It's just there's not a lot of people that can teach it in a way that actually works without getting overwhelmed, just like where you were and where your clients were right at the start. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Everything you're making makes complete sense. And it actually triggered a thought for me, which is that I've always been a person, like I never believe in competition in the way that other people think, because I believe that you can hear the same message from several different people and you can hear it completely differently. And it just takes clicking with that right person, and I think there's someone for everyone. So, I'm always I love that I never see any other business coaches or anything like that as that level of competition. And I think that also enables me to grow more, because of the way that I'm able to connect with lots of different people.
Yeah, I 100% agree. What you'll find as well at the same time is because we get so busy running the business, and I agree, there is nothing better than a student messaging you going, oh my God, this program has changed my life. I've made this money. I've quit my job. There is nothing better than that. Money aside, that's a byproduct, but that success your students have is incredible. It's the best feeling in the world. But what I find is, like, we get so busy trying to run our business and support our students and help them at the same time, we forget our business. And our business sometimes takes a second seat to the initial student business and client business. So at the same time, you've got to juggle supporting the students, making sure the program is perfect, exactly what they need, and at the same time, monitor your business, do the processes, the inputs, tweak the systems, all that, so your business grows at the same time of the students, and it's always like a perfect juggling act. Yeah. I see a lot of business coaches, they forget about their business. And it's good just to focus on your students, but if your business crumbles, it's of no use to people as well. So you have to evolve, they evolve, and as you start to evolve, your students follow you as well. And before long, you've got students messaging you going, Emily, I just made 50 grand this month, and I've only been in your program for 6 months. Like, how the fuck did you do that? It's because you evolved as well, and that takes your business to another new level as well.
Actually, one of the biggest takeaways that I took from the program was around testimonials.
Yeah.
The way that you did testimonials, because I'd always struggled with the concept of posting offers in a traditional way, just because, like, my perspective on it has always been like the psychology of a testimonial says, I'm in demand, I'm busy, I'm getting my clients' results. And then an offer's kind of like, hey, I've got space in my books, come and buy my stuff. And so taking the, that testimonial aspect, and I love the way that you actually input that into emails as well. So it's not just an offer of, hey, come and buy my program. It's like, look, this is the results my students are getting. Oh, and here, by the way, there's a link to the program. It's like the students take the forefront, the clients take the forefront.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. Like, I'm sure you've seen it. You've seen all those coaches in your position that every Facebook ad, they're sitting on their Lamborghini with their big house or their holiday getaway that they've hired for a day and made it seem like their own. So what I see in this is business is about them. They're just trying to make money. It's why, like, we even teach in such a way, people don't know a lot about me. Sure, I could show my BMW, my nice house and stuff, but it's not about me. That's bragging. But what is important is for a coach or a therapist, sure, they can be good in their own business, but it's, as you found out, it's next level. Can you teach someone to do what you've done? That is a whole new level that you have to master. And then it becomes about your students. It should never be about you. Clients will want to find out about you and the nice house and the money you're earning and sort of, and stuff like that. But you've seen all those cheesy posts and videos of the business coach talking about themselves, and this is the lifestyle, laptop lifestyle you can have, and it's all about them. What I look for, and I know you did the same, was, where's the results of this? Can I go to their page? Can I go to their website? What are the students saying? Like, you've got a business coach saying, I make $1.5 million a year. Go to the testimonials. There's no testimonials. That doesn't seem right to me. So yeah, absolutely. The biggest inspiration you'll have and the biggest challenge you'll have, especially in your business as well, is breaking that mindset of a new startup saying, can I do this? Or I can't do this because I'm so different than everybody else. But now you're showing testimonials of the average person following your system who was just, quote unquote, like a nobody, no one special in business, who is now crushing it. That inspires people, not what you're doing. People don't care about your business just yet. That's why we do the testimonials in that way, because it shows proof, it shows success. And that's a level of sophistication in your business to say, hey, I'm good in my business, but I can teach you. I can show you to have what I have. There's not a lot of people that can do that perfectly.
And I would say that in the last 2 months especially, the majority of people that have booked me have been due to testimonials. And they've actually said that, I was looking through your testimonials and, I want that too. Mm-hmm. Or it was a referral. I saw your name in a group, such and such, and I really wanted to chat to you. And so, just touching on, impatience, I find, with a lot of clients, they get to an impatient point where they, you know, they want it to happen straight away. And I always say, like, you know, you're a new expert in the field, and you've got to understand that that momentum that you talk about in your program, it takes time to build. And, you know, that I find that there is a tipping point. So whilst, you know, you might have to really put in all that effort at the beginning with the outreach, and it might feel, you know, like, oh my gosh, is this ever going to happen? But then all of a sudden there's this tipping point where people do start to see you as the expert, and they do start to reach out to you, and your name's been posted around quite a few times, and now people are, you know, landing back on that post. And so, you know, whilst that outreach doesn't stop, it does get easier.
Yeah. It's like, you've got to wait. Like, we know in our head, especially as coaches and therapists and helping start, we know in our head we're good. But I know when I wake up in the morning, I'm not thinking about other people in the industry. I'm thinking about my business and my students. So because I'm thinking about it 24/7 doesn't mean the next person is. They're not thinking about me 24/7, 7 days a week. So yeah, the impatience thing is interesting. That's why we put it in there. Is we think our business should take off because we are awesome, and that's cool. But in reality, it doesn't work like that. There has to be like at least a month or two to find your voice, to shine. But for a lot of people, and you'll find this with your students as well, they do hard work for a couple of days, maybe 2 or 3 days. Don't see a result, change the niche. Don't see a result after 3 days, go become a personal trainer. Don't see results in 3 days, go teach people to do startup. That doesn't work. 3 days later, I'll go back to healing people, whatever it is. And this jumping around from niche to niche doesn't allow those fractals, those things we talked about in the first week, those fractals to build up. You've got to stick to it. You've got to expect there to be a lull in your business where it seems like it's going this way. And then it slowly starts to pick up in that tipping point as you're going down the hill. And what you're experiencing now, and I've jumped over to your page, I saw the freaking testimonials, like, Jesus, she's crushing it. That's all you going downhill now. Now you've just got to outrun this avalanche that's coming behind you. And you're in a great position because now you can pick and choose who you want to work with. It's no longer just grabbing everybody. You have control over this now.
Yeah, and it's about not stopping when you get no's. You know, like that's another barrier I feel comes up quite a lot. And so I always try to shift that mindset with my clients into, you know, if someone says no or I'm not ready, just it's next. There's people out there that's like, what is it, like over 2.5 billion active users or something on Facebook. Like there are people that want your help. And even if it takes you 200 no's to get to a yes, it's going to happen. But only if you're consistent every single day, doing the same thing every single day.
Yeah. And again, that touches on why we automate. So the automation does all this work for you, and you can concentrate on big picture, like short-term minimal goals are like the automation that can do the sales, that can do the enrollments, that can do all the admin stuff for you. While that's happening and you're bringing income into your business, you're supporting your students, long-term vision of your business. Where do I want to be a year from now, 5 years now? What do I want my students to achieve? Like for us, and it will happen this year, you know, I'll be interviewing one of our students that hits $1 million, you know, for a hypnotherapist. That's never been done before. And it's going to shake up the industry, but that's a long-term goal for myself and obviously my students. But that can't happen if I'm sitting there having to push all the buttons every single day because I'm taking time away from that long-term goal as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes total sense.
So when you're working with your clients, what's the biggest breakthrough they've had? Like these people, like a startup, and correct me if I'm wrong, like a startup is someone who doesn't know a thing about business, right? Is that where you're helping them? Wow. What's the biggest shift they have to getting maybe that first client or that first paycheck?
Some people don't have a clue at all. They're good at what they do, but they don't have any understanding of business. Other people are in business, but it's just kind of a little bit higgledy-piggledy and all over the place. So I think the biggest breakthroughs they have is, number one, them realizing that it's a lot easier to make money than they thought, as in, you know, when they put in the action, but that it doesn't have to be really complicated. And I think the second would be realizing that I think a lot of them realize that their attention's been like here, there, a million different platforms, and that actually all they need to do is like master this first, then this, and then string it all together.
Yeah, it's a process. Because again, the impatience thing comes in. People go, I want to earn, if I don't earn $1 million from I'm starting my business on Monday. If I'm not a millionaire by Tuesday, I'm going to give up. It's impossible. We have to, break down a reality. The first thing is, what is your business going to do? What's the niche? Who are you going to help? That's the boring stuff, but it is the most important because that ultimately makes you money long term. But like you said, yeah, people just want to jump into success right away. It doesn't work like that.
And I actually love, like, if I get no's, I love going back through my stuff and going, oh, that's interesting. Like, what went on there? Like, what is there here that I could tweak or do differently? And, I learned a really big lesson when I was, I'm trying to think what age I was when I published my first book. But as you do, you get lots of nice reviews, but then that one bad review sticks out like a sore thumb to you and you obsess over it. And that was a point in my life where it really affected my self-esteem. And then later on, I just kind of thought, hang on a second, maybe there's some truth to this. And if I just look at it from a constructive point of view, I can have a solution to that for the future. So that's kind of like how I always view my business now. Anytime anything goes wrong, I'm not going to say like it doesn't suck at the time. I think we spoke about something recently where I felt like that. But I always find there's always a breakthrough on the other side of that, as you said to me, where actually I improved something in my business. Or, so when it came to publishing my second book, I was a lot more vigilant about going through, checking for errors, checking, everything and just making sure that, I'd covered everything off. So I think it's the way that we look at those challenges. And I think that if you look at them from a constructive point of view, that actually becomes exciting. Like if your business was always good all the time, then you just wouldn't have that space to learn and grow.
Yeah, you've seen those people say, my business has been awesome from day one. Garbage.
Yeah, right.
Possible. You want to invite your critics. You've got to sort of look at this, like juggle this properly. There are some critics who are just assholes. They've got nothing better to do than just put down other people because they haven't done something in their life they wanted to. However, there are sometimes you'll get negative feedback that you should be inviting into your business because real people will tell you really what's going on and what they need. They just put it in a negative sort of connotation. So yeah, you should invite this stuff in. Wait till you start hitting YouTube. From the YouTube strategy we teach you, holy shit. But as you start to automate and grow and you go from, the 5, 10, 15, 20 grand a month to 30, to 40, to 50, that can only happen when you start to expand your reach on this entire world. Wait for the haters to come in then. But use it as invited in. Yeah,
and it's about kind of being able to compartmentalize, okay, what is valid in what they've said and what do I need to ignore? Because just because someone writes something negative doesn't mean you have to take it all on. It's like going, okay, really, when I step back and look at this logically, what is there in this constructively that I can take? And then just ignore the rest. Like I just, like with anything, even when I'm reading through something, I scan and I'm like, I pick out the important parts in what people are saying, or when I'm talking to a client and I'm listening to them, like I'm always scanning, like even when I'm listening. And I think it's the same kind of thing. When you read that feedback, it's like going, okay, just ignore that bit, take that bit on.
And if it hurts, it's because deep down you have to fix that thing.
Yep.
But it's tough. And again, if you're not teaching your students to do this, they're going to come up against this stuff. They're going to freak out. They're going to call you, contact you. They're going to freak out and give up. So if we prepare you guys and, for yourself in my program and for your students in your program, if we prepare our students for this is going to happen. We talk about it in video number 2 or 3 of our program as setting the standard for what's going to happen. This is going to happen. Deal with it now. Let's get this done. The anti-fragile thing we talk about. If you prepare your students for this, when they come up against it, they'll smash through and go, wow, this Emily does know her stuff because she told me that would happen. And it did. Like, this girl knows her stuff. That's that level of expertise that we can start to hit. So moving forward with your business, what are the goals? I mean, we're in 2020 now. What's the goal by the end of the year?
Oh, the goal by the end of the year. Well, financially, I'd set myself a goal of the kind of multi-6 figures by the end of the year. I have actually in my pricing forecast, I've actually forecast all the way to $1 million.
Beautiful.
Do it. But in terms of my program, so I think it's going to be really kind of mastering and nailing, like filling up that program as much as I can this year. And then in the background, like working on automating with you. And then, you know, by the end of the year, I'd hope to be implementing, you know, something where I can start to help my clients, students automate as well.
Yeah. And then again, that adds to your revenue, because you have your initial program now, and that may split into a second program with the automation and like the high level view. And once you've done that, you'll start to attract, like I said, those business owners that are in startup, you know, that are doing 10, 20 grand a month, but don't know what to do next. Right now you're working with, I have no money, no startup, I'm starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's where we started was, okay, we want to help therapists and coaches who make no money build their business. But then when we started to introduce the new program, sort of worked backwards. The new program came in, we started to attract, you know, people who are already earning 100 grand a month, which is cool, but they want to automate. They want to get their time back in their family. So you will attract those outside business owners who are successful to an extent, but they look at you like, what's the next level, which is usually automation or programs. That's usually the evolution. And again, this adds to your revenue and your cash coming into your business. You know, hitting $1 million is not unheard of. It's pretty simple, especially with automation, because we can track it. We can change and tweak things to guarantee that your automation will hit without a shadow of a doubt, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand a month with you out having to touch anything. The additions you add into the business, maybe like a new program or tweaking your system or inviting like the outside business owners into your business that are sort of a tiny different niche, but are sort of the same niche at the same time. That's how you ramp up that revenue status as well. So you have guaranteed monthly income, which is what everyone goes for, plus the bonuses every month. And that accumulates to, you know, 100 grand a month, you know, $1 million a year. It's really simple. It's just about the system.
Yeah. And I have my kind of rough, vague goals in my head, but they're, to be honest, always evolving. You know, I'm always kind of like, each week I'd say like my adrenaline kicks in and I'm like, right, I've got this. I can actually push further. I can, you know, so I kind of, and the other thing that I do is I write down what I want to make, but then I go, okay, why do I want to make this? What do I want to do with this? When I make this money, what am I going to do with it? So that I've actually got not just a figure, like a random figure to work towards, but I actually legitimately know why I'm doing it, because I find that gives me more motivation to go and achieve that. Like for me, you know, it's not just lifestyle and kids, but, you know, philanthropy is a really big thing that I'd like to step into in the future. And, you know, the more money I make, the more that I can, you know, potentially do that. So
yeah, it becomes like a vision and mission. Like it's hard for people to look at someone like yourself who was crushing it and successful. They'll watch this video and go, oh my God, I'll just be happy with 5 grand a month. That'd change my life, because they're still at that level of the pyramid where they're in survival mode, like money, shelter, food. And that's where most people live. And they're just getting by, just living off that. You've bypassed that. Now it's okay. The money's good, but that can't be my focus. It's quite weird, and you'll get this, where making money is awesome. I don't know if I should really say this, but I will anyway. Then it gets sort of boring, if that makes sense, like, because you just know what's going to happen. And then you realize, you ask yourself, why did I make all this money? Well, it came down to value. Yeah. What if I focus on just more value? And then your goal, like you wake up each morning, I just want to get the gym over with, come back and just start crushing this. It's not about the money. It's about, what do I need to do to get my student to $1 million? That is like the goal. Like I get tingles talking about it. That is the goal. And I will not stop till that happens. The money becomes as a byproduct. So now you're reaching that level above the survival mode where it becomes like, okay, philanthropy, I can help other people. I can definitely become a better role model for my kids, all of that stuff. But what can I do for my students? How can I make this program so goddamn good and sell it for, let's say, $1,000? How can I make $1,000 program better than a $50,000 program to support everybody? That becomes your focus. Then you look at your bank account and think, shit, I made money too. But if you're focusing on making money, what happens? You forget about value, and it's value that makes the money. We have to sort of define what that is. So it's funny, like this instinctual way you're thinking now, we talk about in Therapy Maximizer, you already it's happening to you already. And that's that evolution moving forward. So that's really cool.
Well, when I wasn't sure if I was going to touch on this or not, but I am. So 3.5 years ago, roughly, like my business did crumble, and I hit a point where, I was divorcing. I lived 12,000 miles from my family. I had 2 young kids, and I literally had 27 cents in my bank account. And
wow.
I think that is what was that real driving point for me now, that has me wake up every day and go, I am not going to take my foot off the accelerator, partly because I never want to be in that position again. And also, like, my kids were a really big part of that experience. Like, my eldest daughter, who's nearly 13 now, she still remembers the moment that I was like lifting cushions off the sofa, and she handed me pocket money in her jar because we were in the kitchen. And whilst there were a lot of free services that helped me at the time, as soon as I could, I was like, right, I am going to take everything I make and I'm going to invest that into things that can actually help me to turn my business around and to actually make money. And I think that's something so many people get scared of, is investing, and they sit on their money and sit on the little bit of money that they've got, rather than realizing that if you just take that and invest it in something that already has proof of concept, that's already working, like, you are going to turn this around. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's been a huge driver for me. It was a really scary time, but also, something that I'm not glad that it happened, but I kind of am, because I think it made me much more resilient.
Yeah, it had to have happened. Otherwise, you wouldn't be at this point. You'd just be plodding along like you might have been. You'll run an okay business, then you go back to 9 to 5, okay business. Without that, it's important. That's that growth. It's another fractal. It's a growth of just a fractal and living that had to evolve over time.
Yeah, and I'm very, it happened because I stopped.
Isn't that weird?
My emotions absorbed me. I stopped focusing on my business, and obviously my business stopped. So, I'm very kind of pragmatic about that.
Yeah, it's one thing all business owners, entrepreneurs struggle with is consistency. If everyone says, like, Scott, what's a great business plan? Consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what's the marketing? What's the ads? What's the funnels? It's nothing to do with that stuff. It's consistency. I can give you the best funnel, the best automation, the best everything. But if you do it for one day, then decide you want to go do something else the next day, what do you expect? It's consistency. Even when shit is bad and the bills are piling up, it's consistency. You have to ignore the outside world and just drill this thing until you're literally exhausted. That's consistency.
Yeah. And, sorry, you go.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, with your program, don't just listen to it once, go back again and again. And then if there's bits that you're not quite sure you understood, go back again, because you hear new things each time, because depending on what your specific problem is at the time, your filter system in your brain will hone in on that particular thing. So I think I'm now listening to your program for the 3rd time.
Wait till Therapy MAXIMISER. It's triple the size, a lot more tech stuff, but you'll listen to that thing. One of the students we did an interview with, Judy, about a year ago, she said she was listening to this thing every day for a whole 12 months, every single day. She goes, I got so sick of your voice, but it's what has led me to earning 2 to 3 grand every week consistently. Consistently was just listening to this thing. She goes, you frustrated me. I got sick of hearing the same shit. But she said the same thing you did. There were certain points of the program where my mind was at. I had to fix on that. And it's like I was ignoring the rest. And then I'd come back and go, what piece am I missing? Oh, that's what I'm missing. Oh, shit, it's been there the whole time. Include that. It's a back and forth. And again, you'll do this with your program as well. It'll seem so linear in your head because you've been there, done it.
Yeah.
But to your students, you have to remind them, listen to this thing over and over and over. It becomes like your daily affirmation to listen to Emily's program. That's what it's going to take. What would you say to entrepreneurs who are like scared to take action, scared to jump into a program and invest? What words of wisdom would you have for them?
I would say, again, success is 1 second past your fear, and I would say just do it, invest, because, you want to look at the outcome on the other side of that. If I invest this money, what potentially am I going to get on the other side of that? And the other thing I say is, if you're not making money now, then what are you losing out on in investing? Because if you're not making money now and you calculate the number of weeks that you haven't made money, that's probably likely going to add up to more than the cost of investing.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I look at it. I go like, yeah, look at it that way.
Yeah, I look at it that way too. My father used to say something to me when I was young, and you know they're millionaires as well, but they worked their ass off. They worked in jobs to get to millionaire status, as they're retired now with investments and stuff. But he used to say to me, like, if you want stuff in life, you got to work hard for it. You have to go to an expert. You have to find out what they're doing. He goes, and if you don't have money, you can't get any more broke than broke. Just find the money somewhere. Like, once you're broke, you're broke. If you invest another $1,000 into a program, you're still broke. However, now you're getting yourself out of being broke by having some steps to follow. But like you said was correct. We struggle with money and then we hold on to those last couple of cents and say, I'm going to hold on to this. I can't let this thing go. But now your life and your business, whatever it is, the success you have is representative of what you're doing in this very space. If you don't invest out of this space and break out of this, what are you going to expect? This whole thing of it's a miracle, it's mindset, it's I'm going to trust the universe. Go ahead.
Yeah, but what's really interesting as well is that people will go and spend hundreds of dollars on, you know, alcohol, on clothes, on, you know, whatever they want to go and spend it on. And like, that's the other thing that is interesting to me when I start working with startups is the amount of people that actually track their numbers in their business. I could probably count on one hand that I've spoken to, you know,
yeah.
And it's like, they're already spending like without even thinking about what they're spending on. It's just because, you know, they look at this as, you know, one big chunk of money and they're not thinking about all the little bits that add up over the week when they're spending that actually probably could have covered the cost of doing that.
Yeah, I agree. Every business has what is known as a giraffe. Something that you're spending on that you've ignored and you've justified to yourself that I need this. Like, Scott, I need Netflix. I have to watch Game of Thrones, whatever series is out. I don't really watch TV. I have to. This is part of my sanity. It's my downtime. What do you need downtime for? If you haven't done anything, you're not working on your business, you're not succeeding. What do you need downtime for? Invest that somewhere else. Absolutely. It's funny, like, when people are in that mindset, you know, of, you know, I'm going to hold on to this money, you know, I'm going to expend $100 here, that's the short-term satisfaction. That's sort of like what social media has done for us. We write a post, we get an instant like, satisfaction. And a lot of people will judge the success of their business by how many likes and shares they get on their posts. Yeah. They'll ignore the fact their bank account is in the minuses. That's that short-term satisfaction. You can't run a business looking for short-term wins. It's long-term, like what you said, consistency. It's long-term. It's all that effort you've built up to where your business is now without worrying about shares and likes and short-term. It's long-term action over long periods of time where it seems like nothing's happening as you get up that peak, and then all of a sudden this money's coming out of nowhere. And like you said to me on that message, I can't keep up with all these enrollments. I mean, that's a good problem to have because that's income in your account.
Yeah. And, you know, that's another area that I'm looking at now, you know, is my enrollment process. You know, how can I make this simpler for myself?
Yep. Get rid of it. That's it. It's another giraffe we get rid of. You let the machine enroll your students for you, just like you did with me. You paid into my PayPal account. Let's look at the dynamics. Paid into my PayPal account. You got instant access to the program. You would have sent a request, I believe, to the Facebook group, which my VA would have added you. And then I just wake up in the morning, I look at the enrollments and I go on Facebook to see who you are, just so I know that you're not some random person. I sort of know where you are. And that's it. But if you're literally having to write enrollments, type stuff out, it's too much time. Too much time, long term, not short term.
I'd also say, like, with anybody that's struggling, who wants to do, for example, your program, but, you know, that feels they can't afford it, like, get creative. Like, when I was in that position of 27 cents, oh fuck, in my bank account, I was like, what, okay, what can I do? You know, okay, I can only work this much time because I've got the kids. You know, what can I do from home? Okay, I know that I'm good at art. I'll make these pictures and I'll sell them. You know, I did everything I could just to save it up. Then I bought the Barefoot Investor book and I read up on how to manage my finances, and I started to segregate my money. So I went, okay, that in that pot, don't touch this bit. And that's kind of how I got out of that red zone and into the green, was just like not spending all my money when I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Barefoot Investor actually says, like anyone can become a millionaire. It's just about how you manage your money. And the rich people can be poor because they spend all of it.
Yeah, look at Warren Buffett. He's worth like $16 billion and he lives in a $500,000 house that's 30 years old and he drives a secondhand car. Must be something in that. It's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. That's the bottom line when it comes to like income. But you're 100% correct. Like, get inventive with how you know, we've had students, I'm sure they won't mind me saying this, that have gone and sold jewelry and stuff like that. I'm not saying for them to have to do that. But what's funny is someone sold their Rolex. They got $2,000 for their old Rolex. They enrolled in the program. From week one, they increased their price. They followed the MOS system. She made $4,500 in her first week. She went back and bought the Rolex back. What a success story. But it, like you said, you have to want it. You can't just sit in this little nest egg of a couple of coins here. You have to invest. Like if you're investing in yourself, becoming a therapist and a coach, NLP, life coach, I'm sure what's that, like 5, 10, 15 grand or something for some courses, and then believe that's the aggregate to why your business is going to be a success because you've got a certificate on your wall. Got to break out of that delusion. The first thing you should be doing is investing in a business course to learn what niching is and pricing, and then go do that other stuff later. That way you've caught up. And
you have to be okay. You have to fall in love with your business or be okay with outsourcing, but you can't stand still. Like you have to do one or the other. And if you know, for example, like I find sometimes people feel uncomfortable with outreach. I'm like, okay, but if you're doing no outreach, you're not going to make any money. If you invest, you know, a small bit of money in a VA who could do that outreach for you and get it started, if the outreach bit is the bit that's you're struggling with, then, you know, is that a good investment? Well, yeah, because then you're going to be actually making money. That's so it's like thinking in creative ways like that as well. If there's certain bits that don't feel comfortable to you.
Yeah. And what a lot of people focus on is, especially the outreach. I knew when I created that, like everyone's going to have a problem with it because it's literally messaging strangers and people get the wrong idea about it. But they forget about, okay, while I'm doing the outreach, which should take like 20 minutes a day, you need to be doing Facebook Lives, posts, content, emailing people. You need to be doing all of this stuff. That's just 5, 10% of it. It's just the quickest way to get to the end result by getting people on the phone. But we're focusing so much on the thing we hate, we ignore everything else. And this becomes like, the program didn't work because I did outreach once and I didn't get any responses, and that means the program doesn't work. What about everything else? Like you said, it's consistency of everything, showing up in your business every single day and just following the system. Just push the buttons. It's all there. But you'll get, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Sorry. Well, I was going to say, and shifting your mindset around sales. Like when I was 18, I went for an interview with Vodafone and I was shocking, absolutely shocking. They asked me to sell a pen. It freaked me out. Forevermore, for my 20s, I hated sales. And now I absolutely love sales. Like I have to force myself to go to bed and, you know, I can't wait to get up in the morning because I actually love that aspect. And like, how did I do that? And I'm just like, well, because I just changed my perspective on sales. Like making a sale is really just making an offer to help somebody get out of a problem. And, you know, I think I said on my own group coaching call last week, it's an energy exchange. Like if you were giving that away for free and they're getting the solution and the result, and you end up with your energy drained and no money in the bank and you're worse off, like there's no balance in that, you know, like, so you've got to fall in love with sales as well and see that it's actually you helping people and that you're getting something in return for that.
Yep. It's the same thing with outreach. Outreach is just you're offering a solution.
Yeah.
You're not selling. People get weirded out and they go, well, am I selling on this outreach? No, you're offering a chance to help this person. Yeah. They take it. Awesome. If they don't, no worries. Look at a post or a video or an interview like this. It's an offer. I'm offering people a chance to see someone who's crushing it, pick their brain about what's going on in the business, the solutions, what she's going through. I'm offering people to see something in this, be inspired by it, and go do something with their life. I don't care if they join my program or not, but if it inspires them to get them off the couch with the offer that we're presenting now to them and to do something with their life and grow up to be a respectable role model for their kids, you know, that's what this is about. It's just an office. Like I said, it's an exchange of energy. This is not just to plug your program or my program. It has nothing to do with it. We're here to find out, what is Emily doing? And you've just showed people really what it takes to be a business owner, like what goes on inside the head or the day-to-day of a business owner. It's not this wonderful, fabulous thing that gurus talk it up. You know, every day in business is awesome.
Some days are frustrating, and you continuously step into who you want to be. Like, I actually do that. I actually journal that as an exercise. Like, I'm a, you know, multi-million-dollar CEO of, you know, and I step into that. And I think that that's what gave me the courage to actually start believing I'm an expert, was just continuously going, how would an expert think?
Yeah, that's it. I've had days where I've nearly been in tears because stuff just not working. And then the next day you wake up and you've made more in a day than you have in the entire month. And you're thinking, my God, the distribution of business and success is never linear. Not every day is great. You have some days where you love it. I have other days where I look at my laptop and I just think, I just want to throw this thing out the window. I can't be bothered today.
Absolutely. And I get days where, you know, outreach just doesn't feel like it's working for me. You know, I get days where I'm like, oh my God, I've had so many no's. And then the next day I'll get yes. And it's like, you know, we're all the same in that way, you know. Just as I'm sure, like, even when things are automated, you'll get spikes of like huge enrollments, and then there'll be dips, and then
absolutely. What happens is
the way it rolls really in business.
Yeah, the distribution model is never linear, which means that you do see spikes. But what people do is they focus on the day-to-day distribution. They have a bad day and they think, nah, my business is ruined. Like, that's it. I'm giving up. You go the second day, you make a little bit of money, go, I'm saved. Third day, I didn't make any money, I'm giving up. The distribution model is that, you see spikes. Like, some days we'll make no money, and then the next day we'll make 15 grand in a day. But if you span that distribution over the entire month, it works out to like 2-3 grand per day. It's just there's gaps in between.
Yeah.
I think of it as like buckets. If you can imagine like empty buckets. We want to fill up the first bucket with content, outreach, value bucket. Before we can start filling up the next bucket, I have to fill this thing up. And what will happen is this bucket will start to slowly drain out into my webinar. Then I'll fill the webinar bucket up with heaps of people, and that'll slowly drain into either income or leaving the webinar. But if all we do is do one day of just content, and then we go, oh my God, it didn't work, I didn't make any money down those further buckets, because you haven't filled this one up first. This has to be overflowing, where people say to you, you give so much value, like unbelievable how much free stuff. Fill up that bucket. It'll slowly drain through your webinar, the automation. You'll see a spike in the attendees. And then from that, it'll either spill out into income. So you'll see that spike in income, or it'll spill out and go somewhere else. But if you keep filling up that first bucket with value, keep driving traffic through that never-ending reflexive cycle, you see spikes. But if you look at it over the whole year, the distribution's actually quite normal.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're 100% correct.
Yeah, it's just like the stock market, really, isn't it?
It's it. You've just,
panic, and they sell everything at the lowest point, and then they wonder why they've lost loads of money. And it's like the same concept, really.
Yep. You've got to be patient. You have to be so incredibly patient to wait for these spikes to happen. Like, I've had 2 weeks where no income's come in. And sure, in the past, I would have freaked out if I hadn't seen this a million times before. But I know that that's just a bucket filling up. The bucket's full. And then all of a sudden I'll wake up and look at my phone and there's 15 PayPal notifications and there's $30. I'd be freaking out then, really freaking out then. $30,000 sitting in the account from one day. But yesterday I was almost on the verge of going, what's going on? To now it's everything's good again. However, what happens, and you'll learn this as well, when things are going good, it's what you do then that defines your success. Because a lot of people will look at this and go, 30 grand in a day, I'm going to sit back, relax, watch Netflix. No. Push harder on the accelerator. Yep. Go ahead and do 10 videos in one day, 5 Facebook Lives every hour, because you have to fill that bucket back up, because now it's empty because the end solution has been income. Go back and fill that bucket up again.
Yeah, and don't compare yourself to gurus, because they are all going through this. Like, a guru still hits a day where they get those thoughts of, oh my God, my business is going wrong. Oh my God, nothing's working. And like, everybody has to kind of overcome that. Just like I get those days, I train at the gym 5 days a week, and some mornings I'm like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, no, just do it. You'll love it. You'll feel great at the end. And then I always do, you know?
Yeah. There's a reason Anthony Robbins, I mean, he makes, I think he's like 20 or 30 grand a month, $30 million a month or whatever he earns. It's ridiculous. He has a mentor to call up and say, you know, real world problems making $20 million a month and stuff, to call up his mentor and say things aren't going right. And the mentor has to calm him down. It's like the mentor is just above. It's sort of like your position with the way our relationship is, you're here and I'm just a little bit above you. Okay. So I've seen that, but I have to also be able to speak to someone who's way above me to make sure I can see things objectively.
Yep.
Where your students are, you're in quite a different space. You're going to be up here, but these people are going to be down here because they're new. So even though you're so high up, you still have to be able to reach out to someone who's just experienced a little bit more than you, offer some words of wisdom, but I have to do the same. My mum and dad, who are millionaires, who became millionaires by investing, they have an investor, professional investor helping them do that. He has a boss above him. It's all about, you know, looking at this objectively. So really the goal here is everyone needs someone who has made it that you can model. 100%. Just follow what that person says. 100%. Awesome. So as we round up this end of the interview, this has been awesome. It's been great to pick your brain and find out, especially in this space of startups. Any last words of wisdom, I guess, is the last question for you. Anything else you could shed a light on for these people that are maybe struggling, unsure? What would you say to them?
Just don't stop.
So simple.
Really, just don't stop. Invest, don't stop, invest, don't stop, and continuously keep doing that as a loop. And you'll make it.
Awesome. So for anybody that's watching this that wants to get in contact with you, that maybe has a startup business, likes the idea of having like the female mentor, wants to get into your program, where can they find you?
So they can find me on Facebook. So my business page is at Core of Still Coaching. And then obviously Emily Rose Braithwaite on Facebook. And I am on Instagram as well, but I would say primarily I'm focusing on Facebook right now. And I have got my website, coreofstillcoaching.com as well. I'm only stepping into YouTube, so.
Yeah, we're getting there slowly. And for the who's like your ideal client? If like I was watching this and go, this sounds really good, but I want to make sure I'm the right fit for Emily. Who's your perfect client? Who are you looking to work with?
So I would say, you know, someone that is open to really investing a lot of their energy into making it happen for themselves and not just relying on, you know, a funnel or something to bring everything in for them. So they're open to that, open to organic strategies of growth. Someone that feels overwhelmed and just wants someone who can, you know, give them that step-by-step system to follow to help them to implement the same kind of thing in their business in their way.
Wonderful. So really someone who's ready for hard work.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Someone that's ready for hard work, but that also, you know, I am a big believer in build your business around your life. So, you know, I do like to kind of bring that aspect into things as well. But yeah, for me, it's definitely someone that is open to system thinking as well as things like mindset and manifestation and stuff like that.
Beautiful. Well, I know you're super busy, so I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for that interview. That was awesome. I had a lot of fun with that. Yeah, what we'll do, Emily, is I'll get you to send me your website link, and I'll put this in the description of the video on YouTube. That way people can get in contact with you as well directly. But that's all for us today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have another student interview coming up, I believe, next week. We've got a whole bunch coming, so really cool to see all that. But again, thank you, Emily. Thank you so much for sharing. It's been awesome to chat with you, and I'm sure we'll see you on another interview very soon.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Emily. Bye-bye.
Bye.